I'm going to tell you the scariest thing that has ever happened to me. In 2017, I was living in this small village in India called Munnar. It's surrounded by tea plantations, and it's about 2 hours away from Cochin International Airport. So one day my friend Rajit and I decided we were going to go visit an old abandoned tea plantation called Top Station. Now the drive there is pretty amazing because you have to pass through these tea fields. They're everywhere. You can't see the end of them. And also you're driving uphill, so you get to see these really cool views. And at the end of the road, you get to this big archway, which says Top Station, 1936. So we parked our car, got out, and started walking around. Now, the story goes that this place was actually built in 1936. But it was completely abandoned after a few years due to some kind of labor strike or some kind of protest. And the workers just left all their stuff behind and they never came back. So now the whole place is like abandoned and full of nature. There's no security, so anyone can walk in and it's totally free. So we decided to go explore. It was a bright, sunny day. We had no idea where we were going. There wasn't a single person around. But what was kind of strange was we kept hearing these weird whispers all around us. At first, we thought it was maybe the wind or some kind of animal. But then when we stopped and listened, it definitely sounded like people whispering, like hushed voices talking in what sounded like Hindi. But it was very hard to make out exactly what they were saying. They seemed to be coming from all around us in the trees. There were these 3 main buildings on the property, which we soon found out were the manager's house, the storehouse, and the factory itself. And we started hearing more whispers near the buildings. So we went towards the manager's house, and we started exploring inside. It looked like no one had entered this place for decades, but there was still some stuff left behind, like a typewriter, some records, books, a globe, a camera. It was crazy to think that someone had lived here. And then we noticed these weird scratches on the floor and on the wall. First we thought it might be some kind of bug, but then we realized that these patterns didn't match any bug that we knew, so we took some pictures and moved on. As we were walking outside, we could have sworn we heard footsteps behind us. We turned around, but of course there was no one there, and the footprints in the dirt didn't match any shoe. So we decided to go to the factory building, which was much larger, and this place was truly creepy. The walls were falling apart, the roof had collapsed, the windows were smashed. There was this huge pile of wood in the middle, so we walked over and started looking around, and that's when we heard the clearest whisper yet. It sounded like someone was saying, "Get out, get out," over and over again, "Get out, get out." But it was coming from inside the pile of wood. We got a little freaked out and ran away. We couldn't find any other entrances into the building, so we tried to climb in through a window. Now the ground was very muddy and slippery, but somehow we managed to pull ourselves up and climb onto the roof. And then we saw something weird in the distance. It looked like there was a figure walking between the tea plants. At first we thought it was probably just a worker from a neighboring estate, but then we watched it for a few minutes, and it definitely looked like it was heading straight for the abandoned factory. So we decided to follow it and see what happened. Now remember, there are no cars allowed in here. There's only a dirt road. But when we followed this figure, we saw that it was driving some kind of tractor. How this thing got into the plantation is beyond me. It almost looked like it had driven straight through the wall. The tractor stopped in front of the pile of wood, and then a man got out. He was wearing dirty clothes, but we couldn't see his face, because he had a big blue tarp covering his head. He started pulling out these long sticks, and he started poking them into the wood. We got super scared at this point because we had no idea what he was doing. Was he digging for gold? Was he planning to hurt us? Then he took one of the sticks, and he started drawing on the ground. At first we couldn't figure out what it was, but then we realized he was drawing a human body. He drew a stick figure with a circle for the head, and he drew a line through it, like slashing his throat. Then he did it again, but this time he drew 2 stick figures, and he slashed the throat of the second one. So we got terrified and we started running. We ran as fast as we could, but he started yelling in Hindi, "Stop, stop, don't run!" But we couldn't understand what he was saying, and we could hear him yelling and stomping his feet as we were running away. We didn't stop until we reached the main road. Once we were far away, we started to calm down. We were still a bit shaken. So we got back into the car, and we drove back to Kochi. But we were both kind of creeped out. We agreed not to ever go back to that place. But a few days later, I started researching online to see if I could find anything about the history of the place, or even news articles about this man we saw. but I couldn't find anything. Like there was nothing about the place on the internet at all. I checked all kinds of things. At this point, I started thinking that maybe we had imagined the whole thing. Maybe we had seen some tractor or some guy, but we had made up the rest of it in our heads. So I checked Google Maps to see what the place looked like, and that's when I saw it. There was a picture taken a few months before showing the exact same spot with the sticks and the tractor and everything exactly as we saw it, so we hadn't imagined it. But then I continued looking, and I found something else. In another picture from a few years prior, you could see the exact same guy wearing the blue tarp. He had a cart with some rocks, and he was arranging them in a circle. I looked at other pictures from the same place from a couple years before. He was doing the same thing with the cart and the rocks. But why? What was he doing? I looked everywhere online to try to find out who this guy was or what he was doing, but I couldn't find anything. And it's weird because if you look at pictures from different angles, you can see that the walls of the factory are in much better shape. They haven't fallen apart yet, so these pictures must have been taken before the place was abandoned. And I looked at other pictures of the tractor too, but I couldn't find any evidence that this tractor existed anywhere else on the internet. So it was like this tractor, this guy, and this place. They all disappeared off the face of the earth. What do you think happened there? Let me know in the comments below.